Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change.
Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? I hope you are doing well. I'm doing okay. I haven't been feeling well all week, as a lot of you know. That's one reason there wasn't a show last night. Just didn't have the energy for it after everything else I had to do. So I was definitely sure to do a show this evening, though I am probably heading off to bed right after this. And hello, Dave Davis asked who all is here. They're probably on YouTube. That's where I try to drive everyone to YouTube to watch, because it does drive up the engagement algorithm. But we will have at least one additional episode in the September-October 1974 history segment, because there were a lot of things I circled as we were going through this issue of LP News that I said, oh, I got to look that up on newspapers.com, or oh, I need to do more research on that. But tonight is the actual last page of the issue. So we have this, and then we'll tie together all the loose ends. These issues have gotten very, very densely packed. So there's even a lot of information just on this. Oh, Bunchy is galloping. See, that's what Bunchy does. When I don't feel well, Bunchy feels my pain. That's definitely how I feel right now. I am not feeling well. This just hasn't been a good week. I haven't been with it. All work and no play. Look, it's bouncing because Wayne, if he's watching this, Wayne, if you're watching this, you're not a Clydesdale. What are you doing up there? Making the floor bounce, and then it makes my camera bounce. Okay, well, I don't know what's going on up there. Bunchy does this sometimes. I don't know why, but Bunchy is spastic. Yeah, Bunchy's running away from me. He's like, you don't have the coof, do you? No, I don't have the coof. Okay, along the bottom, if you're not too distracted by Bunchy, is my grifting information, which it doesn't trigger people as much as it used to. That was more a joke of last year because, the LNC just were clutching their pearls that I was a dirty, dirty capitalist. But patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. I would truly appreciate it if you enjoy this type of content, if you would become a patron. I was just laughing. I got a little distracted because I was laughing at the first LNC meeting when I said to the new LNC, y'all know I have a monetized YouTube channel, right? That's not a surprise to anyone here. My God, was that a year from hell. What a terrible LNC. Oh, I just think back in it and like, my word. And the LNC before it, which wasn't as bad, but that's when things started to get bad. The LNC before couldn't even condemn socialism. Like, today, I put up a tweet. It's like one of my more popular tweets that just said F socialism, but I didn't say F. I said the whole word in celebration of Elon Musk taking charge of Twitter. But, yeah. Not last LNC, but the LNC before it couldn't even pass a resolution affirming property rights. Like, how pathetic did the Libertarian Party get? Like, seriously, how frickin' pathetic. And we're surprised that the following LNC on that rotten foundation couldn't stand up against COVID when we couldn't even stand up against socialism. Like, man, there's been a big change. And it needed to come. And all the people that are super, super upset, about whatever messaging they're upset about this year, they're the same people who couldn't be stirred to condemn socialism. Tuh. Gross. Anyway. I don't know what got me on the socialist kick today, but whenever I think about it, I just want to dry heave. Okay, so maybe I will. No, I like keeping the comments up, but I also like mixing things up. So I think we're gonna go over to here. We're gonna show the issue. Let me find the page we're on. We're on this very last page. And boy, that screen zoomed out a lot, didn't it? Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Where'd my cursor go? There it did. Okay. Let's see if we can... yeah. Oh, we do a Wayne's World. Whoa. Okay. I should put the chat up in little tiny. Then you guys will have... Bunchy's running here, too. And this is a different Bunchy. You guys, I know you're not familiar with the program I'm using, but it's set up into scenes, and each scene has its own assets, so it's pulling from different files. This is pulling Bunchy completely separately, so it's weird that both of them, let me see if I try to pull in another Bunchy, I'm wondering if a brand new Bunchy would also be freaking out. Let me see if I can remember where I put the file. Is this some? Oh, this is the one with the white background. Look, it's one with the white background, and even that one's freaking out. What the hell? What the hell, Bunchy? Okay, well, it might be the way my computer processes GIFs. And yes, it is GIF. It's not GIF. We settled that. Might be the way my computer processes GIFs. All right, so let's get on to this issue. Before we talk about the text, though, I want to talk about the bottom. If you notice, the LP headquarters at this point in time is in California. Tomorrow, I am going to do an LNC update unless I'm sick. And I do have a meeting early, so it will be late. But one thing we'll talk about is the big hullabaloo caused by Rich Bowen and Pat Ford about possibly selling the building that we're in. And people freaked out, thought that meant selling the building and using the money. We can't do that per the FEC. But it would be getting a different one. Settle down, Beavis. Settle down, Bunchy. We have moved offices many, many times over the history of this party. You have a Bunchy Halloween gift? I don't know how to make gifts. The old one with the white background, that thing is like 15 years old that I have had saved on my computer. And taking out the white background, Sam did that for me. So I don't even know how to take out the white background. So no, I don't know how to make GIFs. There's some things I do know how to do. Video editing I know, but not making GIFs, even though I know that is like almost a form of video. But I don't know how to do animation. That's basically why. Okay, so tomorrow, LNC update. We got shit to talk about, maybe. But let's get to the text now. New Royce report out. Remember, it's Eric Scott Royce, who was on the LNC at the time this was put out, and he used to put out like a scorecard on federal legislatures. I knew what you meant, Dave, because you wouldn't be asking me to make a GIF if you had a GIF. But you have a Halloween Bunchy. That is interesting. I mean, how can you resist that face? Okay, new Royce report out. And I forgot my magnifying glass again. Somebody needs to send me an email that says, remember your magnifying glass for these damn tiny issues. Ooh, I'm looking also at the postmark on here. I'm trying to see how much it cost to mail this back then. And it was mailed out of San Francisco, which is where the headquarters was at. So that makes sense. Okay. Representative H.R. Gross, Republican, Iowa, who is retiring after a career of 26 years in the House, compiled the best voting record in Congress according to the newly issued Royce report covering the first half of 1974. Highest ranking senator was Harry Byrd, Democrat, Virginia. So the highest ranking one in a Freedom Index was a Democrat. It happens. Gross received an 80 and Byrd received a 68. Scores generally tended to be lower in this, the third analysis of congressional voting records from a libertarian perspective. The Royce report is published by Libertarian Information Services and is edited by Scott and Catherine Royce. In the introduction to this issue, the editors note that at present there is no one in Congress who they would class as libertarian. One of the purposes of the Royce report is to point out those legislators who have libertarian leanings and who might be persuaded to see the inconsistencies of their positions. In the analysis of 25 votes in both houses, 3 Democrats had the dubious distinction of receiving the lowest scores. Henry Jackson of Washington managed to vote in favor of liberty 2 times for an 8. Thereby beating out his perennial rival, Senator Gail McGee, Democrat, Wyoming, who checked in with 12, while Representatives Fred Rooney of New York had, and then there's like a smear here, looks like Pennsylvania something, Stratton. Oh, it's Rooney of Pennsylvania and Stratton of New York had incredibly poor scores of 5. Overall, 23 senators and 86 representatives voted correctly less than 25% of the time, and only Gross voted correctly over 75% of the time. The great bulk of the congressmen in both houses scored between 25 and 50, clearly as indication that massive replacements are needed. More interesting than the Royce report scores themselves are the issues on which your favorite Politico has deviated from the plumb line of pure libertarianism. And then it says, to find out why Mr. Sims, Goldwater, Buckley, Proxmire, Hatfield, and others had scores of 61 or lower, and it gives you the address for back then where you could have gotten the Royce report. I like to remind people that Sims, I believe House of Rep, he wasn't a senator, he was House of Rep from Iowa, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. He actually, I consider him the first federally elected libertarian. Now, he wasn't elected as a big L because there wasn't big L's in Iowa at the time, but he was an anarcho-capitalist when he was elected and distributed LP literature in his campaign. So for those of you who say we've never elected a libertarian to federal office as a libertarian, like he was registered Republican because that's what he had to do. But I consider Sims. Let's just put it that way. If an anarcho-capitalist isn't a libertarian, nobody is, okay? And so we did that already as far as I'm concerned. But Sims apostatized. Let's just put it that way. He did not stay an anarcho-capitalist. Yeah, Washington will do it to you. It's like the LNC will do it to you too. How I've managed to resist, I don't know. Probably just sheer obstinacy. It isn't because I'm better than other people, that's for sure. Of all people, I know that I'm not better. He was from Iowa. He was an apple farmer. No, or was it Idaho? Idaho. I believe it was Idaho. It was one of those I states. I think he was an apple farmer. And it's SYMMS. I think it was Idaho, not Iowa. I'm not feeling great tonight. So, as you know. So I was going to say, I know damn well I'm not better than other people. So how I was able to resist the temptation of the LNC, it just goes to show. You wonder how people get elected to national office and then just become utterly corrupt. People become utterly corrupt on the LNC, which is no power. It's like the illusion even of no power. Like it's less than no power and people get corrupted by it. So I can just imagine the pressures if you're in federal office. You know, my joke, and it's not really a joke, it's like a sad joke because it's true, is that the LNC is where radicals go to die. Sims is a perfect example. It's where an anarcho-capitalist went to die in federal office. But anyway, I like to think if I were, not that I'm ever running for federal office, but if I did, that I wouldn't be one of them. But it's one of those there, but for the grace of God goes I type situation, because you just never know the temptations. And I could tell you a lot of it's just peer pressure. I mean, even though I didn't cave on the LNC, I felt the pressure, particularly when you have very few people standing with you. Steve Sims, that's it. And it was Idaho. He was apple farmer from Idaho. The temptation is real. The temptation is very real, particularly when you're going to be punished for it. Like the temptation to cave when they're about to vote your ass off. Yeah, that can be very real. Okay. Now we're going to go to World News Notes for Libertarians. Why did I find that like so hard to pronounce? Oh, I wanted to show you. This is interesting. It's tiny because, again, I'm not feeling well. I love cream drinks. Like I love rum chata. Oh my God, this isn't rum chata, but it tastes kind of like rum chata. This is a new, what's called key lime cream rum. Doesn't that sound like heaven? It really tastes like, I don't taste the lime that much. It really does just taste like a less sweet rum chata. So if you like rum chata, you'd like this. It's pretty good. I can't remember what brand it was. It wasn't Captain Morgan, but it was another popular brand of rum. Very good. Not terribly strong. Very good. Very cinnamony. This is very like Becky. This is like so pumpkin spice white girl Becky, man. So, okay, I'm going to be Becky tonight. All right. World News Notes for Libertarians. Oh, so this is kind of like bits and pieces from the older issues. But it's rather than Most of the bits and pieces used to be just United States. It looks like they're trying to do like an international flavor here. All right. Can't wait, it says. Time magazine reports that there are 3.2 workers for every person receiving Social Security benefits. That ratio should drop to 2.2 by the year 2025. Oh, we're close to the year 2025. What is the ratio right now? If someone can Google that. What is the ratio now for worker to pensioner? Social Security pension. I mean, is that really a pension? No, but you know what I mean. I wonder, Social Security beneficiary. Is it around 2.2? Curious if their prediction was correct. By which time Social Security taxes will have to increase by 50%. Time is finally getting the idea. Although more realistic estimates say a 50% increase could come in 40 years. I'm very interested in how this turned out. Yep, Autistic Ahsoka says, we fucked. Yeah, we definitely be fucked. The competitive economy. A British airline recently proposed a regularly scheduled flight between London and New York for $125. Needless to say, the Civil Aeronautics Board blocked this example of cutthroat competition unanimously. You want to know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of an Atlas Shrugged, the anti-dog-eat-dog legislation, if you all remember that from the book. Let that be a lesson. A Los Angeles couple built a patio onto their property without a permit. Uh-oh, you know what's coming now. The bureaucrats said they would have to tear it down and that they'd need another permit to do that. I didn't see that coming. Honestly, I didn't see that coming. I saw that you'd have to tear it down coming, but I did not see, and you've got to get a permit to tear it down. What if they don't get the permit to tear it down? Do they got to rebuild it? Oh, that's funny. Then it says, I don't even know what this word is. What's Zlotnika? Says blood groups of Polish I can't pronounce, pigs. They mean it literally, like in the animal. You know, they're not insulting some group by calling them pigs. They're literally talking about oink oink. Okay, says, not only was a study of this sanguine subject financed by the American taxpayer, sounds like the bull semen study that was done in Colorado, taxpayer financed, but so was a $375,000 Pentagon study on how frisbees travel through the air. These and other delights were published by the U.S. News and World Report in a feature story this summer that focused on a list put together by the National Taxpayers Union detailing strange and bizarre projects financed by taxes. And there's a big blur here, so I'm not going to be able to read this whole thing, but it's like, don't worry, whether it's lizards in Yugoslavia, Central American toads, the smell of perspiration from Australian Aborigines, or Indo-Austrian ants, the bureaucrats in Washington are keeping track of it. Not to mention the purchase, and I can't read the rest of that, but I'm sure it's pretty ridiculous. But I'm still laughing about that you built a patio without a permit. So you got to tear it down. And you got to get a permit to tear it down. If there wasn't a more perfect example of government fuckery. Then it says, Dr. Scholl, where are you now that we need you? It is illegal. Oh my God. It is illegal in South Carolina for a woman to remove her shoes in front of more than one man.
Boom, chicka, wow, wow.
So Dave says it's 2.7 to 1 in 2021. So I wonder what it's projected to be in 2025, which is where they were at. But so we're doing a little better than they thought we'd be doing. Junior Achievement Award revoked. Huh? And is that the junior achievement that still like exists today? Because I used to do that. I was used to go, maybe this was 15 years ago, to classrooms to late middle school, so like 8th graders about, and lead a junior achievement projects. So Junior Achievement Award revoked. Norwegian factory owner Gunnar Nilsen will pay 147.7% of his total income in taxes this year. How does that work? How does that work? According to the Minnesota LP's reasonable answer, Nilsen is one of 2,000 Norwegians who will pay taxes higher than their yearly income. He founded his food processing plant in 1936 when he was 23, and his only assets were 2 hands, a quick mind, and relentless drive. Okay, so they just meant that sarcastically, but I mean the junior achievement thing, but I'm still wondering if that was just a turn of phrase then, or if they were riffing off of, you know, the fact that he was a young entrepreneur, and that's what the whole junior achievement program is about. Okay, can we surpass Italy? The U.S. Postal Service initially thought to allow internal mail between different... Oh my God. Let's just start again. The U.S. Postal Service initially thought to allow internal mail between different branches of the same company to be carried by outside private postal and messenger companies. When it was discovered that this would cut into the Postal Service's revenues, the idea was abandoned. Wow. Interesting. Okay. That gave me a headache. Business as usual. A computer equipment company plans to sue IBM as a result of its heavy losses last year. The reason: IBM stopped making the software needed by the other company to attach their devices to IBM computers. God, Apple does that all the time. The politician as economist. The Senate Democratic Conference was unanimously of the opinion that cutting the budget won't by any means bring an end to inflation. And then jokingly they say, what we really need is bells, beads, and voodoo chants. Tell Uncle Jerry. Okay, I think I can read this, even though there's a smear there. California's Libertarians are requesting that Ford's request for 10 ideas to fight inflation be answered by writing, "Stop increasing the money supply 10 times." That's fantastic. I love it. Thanks. I love it. Overdoing it. Ownership and use of guns in Jamaica, was getting out of hand, in the opinion of the Jamaican government. So the government enacted a gun control policy which involved a house-to-house search without warrants for guns and ammunition. Penalties for possession not only of a single gun, but of a single bullet. The construction of a huge stockade for trial and imprisonment of gun criminals. Indefinite detention for such criminals. No access by the public or the press to the trials. Wow. The whole program was thought up by a group of Jamaican psychologists and sociologists. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, all licenses for the carrying of firearms by civilians have been canceled. Next, emergency situation. Senators Frank Church, Democrat, Idaho, and Charles Mathias, Republican, Maryland, got curious about the extent of the president's emergency powers. They stuffed a computer with the United States Code and programmed the machine to respond to the words crisis and emergency. So basically, back then, this was fancy computing for back then. They basically loaded up an electronic copy of the code and did a word search. I like how complicated they made it sound. I'm sure it was complicated back then. It turned out that the president has access to emergency powers in 470 separate areas. The most notable is his right to suspend radio and television broadcasting after declaring a state of public peril or disaster. He could also freeze bank accounts, close stock exchanges, and declare martial law. Members of both the House and the Senate are working on bills to give Congress more authority in such situations. Good luck on that. The presidential emergency powers have only expanded. Split in the ruling class. Overheard recently in the bombast of the usual bureaucratic infighting and empire building in Washington, D.C., was Federal Trade Commission Chairman Louis A. Eggman making some libertarian-sounding arguments early in October. Eggman's own bureaucracy promotes bigness is badness, antitrust, and is hardly an advocate of laissez-faire. Eggman, however, did manage to make some good points on utilitarian, efficiency grounds and to get extensive serious coverage in the New York Times of how a deregulated market would work, citing the effects of the Civil Aeronautics Board and the Interstate Commerce Commission in his speech to the fall convention of the Financial Analysts Federation. Eggman said, "Most regulated industries have become federal protectorates, living in a crazy world of cost plus, safely protected from the ugly specter of competition, efficiency, and innovation." Okay. And the last section, nasty, nasty tendencies. Harvard sociologist David Riemann told Robert J. Donovan of the Los Angeles Times last September that he fears the anarchistic tendency of Americans. It's nice to be feared. I'm such a threatening-looking anarchist. The country is very hard to contain, he said. I have been reading in the letters to the editor column. Did I say it right this time? I always say letter to the editor instead of letter to the editor. Complaining about having to have seatbelts in cars. God bless everyone who was complaining about that. The writers take the attitude, I have a right to kill myself. What should the government tell me what to do? And that's exactly right. It goes back to the Whiskey Rebellion in George Washington's time. Everyone has a right to be his own alcoholic. I'll drink to that. And I'm sure somewhere out there, Holly is drinking to that too. Americans are hostile to central authority, to discipline. Yes, I wish we were more hostile to that. I feel building up in this country enormous resentment, mostly political, waiting to be captured. Well, we're still waiting. We're still waiting for the enormous resentment. I think we need to be much more resentful. God, there was a song I was just listening to. I don't know why that reminded me of it. I think it was called Comply or something like that. So, I'm autistic. Let me put this up on screen so people can see the comments. They won't see the comments that have already been made. But Autistic Ahsoka had said, don't even get me started on seatbelts. So, God, what were we doing? A gun show? There was some Libertarian Party outreach event. Or was it the convention? Crap, I don't remember. But I was sharing a hotel room with our outreach director at that time. We went next. God, I'm telling stories now. I don't remember her name, so this is a long time ago. No one will guess. Not that she'd care anyway. So we went next door to was it Taco Bell? I was driving. She was not. She was high as hell. So she's ordering at the Taco Bell and it's like, it was, it was something like, oh God, no, it was hamburger place. It wasn't Taco Bell. I want, she's like, a cheeseburger without cheese or pickles, and then I was like, and without the burger. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but I do know why, but I don't know why I still think that's just so funny. Because she's just looking at me and she's like, what? She's high as hell. But anyway, so when she was driving, when she wasn't high as hell, she had the most wonderful Southern accent, but on seatbelts. And now Wayne and I joke about this. She has said to me, put your seatbelt on, anarchist. I hate that thing. And it kind of just is the principle, I don't like being told what to do. Because it's like, I don't really like have a philosophical, it's not like the COVID vaccine. Like, the reason why I didn't get that isn't just oppositional defiance disorder, which I definitely have. It's that I think it's bullshit. I don't think it's a real vaccine. It's gene therapy. And I wasn't convinced it works. I am not anti-vax by any means whatsoever if it was a real vaccine. I get my flu shot. I get vaccinated. I just never became convinced of that. So it wasn't just oppositional defiance disorder. But when it comes to seatbelts, it's pretty much oppositional defiance disorder. Because it's like I really don't have a beef to pick with them. My beef is that I don't like being required. That's like the dumbest thing in the world to me. So yeah, Wayne's always having to put on your seatbelt, anarchist. So anyway, that's it for the text. The holy text of September, October LP News 1974. We will be doing some bonus stuff. That'll probably be Saturday. Tomorrow will be LNC Update. But actually autistic studies have proven that. I don't have them in front of me, but I did see them, so I'm not just pulling facts out of my ass, that the unintended consequence of seatbelts, it didn't reduce deaths in the way they thought it would because people drove more recklessly thinking they were more safe with the seatbelt on. It's funny the way that works, doesn't it? Unintended consequences are always a bitch. All right, everyone, I am going to get going. I am super tired, not feeling well, probably going to go to bed, but I do have some LP work to finish up. I just got to make it through the work day tomorrow. I did miss a day of work. I'm trying not to miss any more time from work because this is a new job. And, you know, it's not a good thing to like miss a lot of time from a brand new job. So would like not to do that. So have an awesome night. I do need to update my closing screen because unfortunately due to bad economic times, I did lose some patrons, people who still support the show. They just, you know, not everyone can afford to always be a monthly contributor. I get it, which is one reason why I'm trying to pimp out my Patreon so much. I am trying to build, you know, attrition. I guess I'm trying to make up for attrition. So patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. But in any event, I love you all and I will see you tomorrow for the LNC update. Bye-bye.
What you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.